Yes, we are. Good morning, everyone, and welcome, welcome to another episode of Viva Cafe con Leche. I am Dr. Lori, Line Yourself Inc. I am a holistic practitioner, chiropractor. I am a life coach specializing in transformation and mindfulness practice. I'm a speaker. I am a workshop facilitator and creator, and I am known as the weight loss doc, but specifically for here, especially the badass Buddha. And I'm coming to you from morning, Connecticut. Connecticut. I get sidetracked because I'm listening to your phone. I'm coming to you from Southern Connecticut, where it is 43 degrees here this morning, crisp winter day, really, not fall anymore. So good morning, and welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche with your cup of coffee. And good morning, my beautiful co-host.
Good morning, buenos dias, namaste, mi gente. I am La Margarita coming to you from Tampa, Florida, and it is like a crisp 54 here, so it's chilly and I feel great. Have my fluffy socks on here in Tampa.
I do too.
It is it. Well, you're in the freezing Connecticut. I am your author in residence, your spiritual and creative healing life coach. I am your notary and your wedding officiant. I am your artist. I am many things, but I am humbled. Welcome. Oh, and I am the gladiator guru. So welcome to Viva Cafe con Leche.
Happy election day. Today is the day, right? People have been sending in their votes for a while now. It's been very interesting to watch the tally of everything. I started to watch it yesterday, and they were talking about the mail-in votes and all this stuff. And so if you have voted already, good for you. And if you are voting today, it ought to be interesting. There are not a lot of people voting at the polls today. Well, there's a lot, but not as much, obviously, as there usually are. And then the lines, I heard, are going to be problematic because of the security, limiting the amount of people in at any given time. So expect to be there for a little bit. And if you're in any hurry, let it go. Just let it go. Enjoy the moment for yourself so that you can, just find something to do in that interim instead of complaining about waiting in line. Have your cup of coffee with you before you get there, right?
True.
What about you, Guru? You've already voted, right?
Yes, I voted the mail-in ballot last week, so that was out of the way.
Okay.
I'm happy to be part of and participating in such an important decision in our nation. Cheers to voting.
And what are you cheering with?
Café P.1 with cloves and cinnamon and monk fruit sugar and a drop of coconut milk.
Okay. I have that Amazon coffee. And it actually came out. It's pretty tasty. I actually ended up getting rid of a couple of the coffees that I ordered because they ended up, the more I tasted them, they were just awful. Terrible to say. However, that one's not too bad. Brand coffee. And so I'm keeping that, for now, until I run out because it was a big bag. But I'm going to order more because I was so disappointed. I had ordered 3 different bags of coffee, and was it 3 bags of coffee. 2 of them were just no good.
Wow.
And I thought it was made because I do put a little bit of, forgive me for saying, but I put a little bit of the coffee, the non-dairy coffee creamer, the dried stuff. Only because of the program that I'm on, and I can't have too much else, but I can't drink the coffee black. I just can't do it. And I thought it was that, because it's kind of processed and stuff. So I tried it black, and I realized it was the coffee. Like, it was totally the coffee. So, yeah.
So disappointing, right?
I know.
I just want to read something because my watch party hasn't started yet, but Michelle says that there's more voters than she's ever seen. Not really enough social distancing, but largest turnout. Then she says the stickers have suffragettes on them. That's amazing. Show me, Michelle. Send us a picture of that.
The
That's
stickers have
amazing.
suffrage, like women's suffrage, you're talking about?
Yeah, yes. I love that.
But is that a nonpartisan sticker, or is it for specifically somebody?
Let's see if she answers. Buenos dias. Peru's in the house. Buenos
Good
dias,
morning,
Maria.
Peru. Good morning.
Maria de Pilar from Peru. Buenos dias, mi amor.
Okay, so good. I'm glad to see that Michelle voted and she got back from the polls. So yeah, we'll just talk about that just for a moment, and then we'll talk about our coffee, and we'll set, well, we already talked about our coffee, I guess. We'll set our intention for the day and our mantra, and then we'll get right into our topic, which is a two-day topic. So it's today and Thursday. But yeah, so what else do we want to talk about voting? So, you know, the thing is, in this country, we have the right to vote, but we also have the right not to vote. And I try not to judge, you know, there's been moments where I haven't wanted to vote. So I don't really get angry at people when they choose that option, because that is our right, you know. It's just the one thing I always ask for, and I'm sure you'll agree with this, Gladiator Guru, is that if you are going to vote, be educated on your vote. You know, just don't willy-nilly. I know so many people that they're so set on their party that they'll always vote on that party, period, with no thought process whatsoever on whether they agree with the candidate or not. And I think those are really important considerations. You know, we really have to do our part in educating ourselves. And it's not just about the national vote, it's also our local votes too. There's always questions that come up during election time, you know, like our city, a charter, they're voting on the charter. And you get both sides of it. Yes, vote no, keep our taxes low, blah, blah, blah. And so it's like, you gotta like look at it and see exactly what pieces are there before you go out and vote. And it's easy to do. You could just look up all the stuff. It just takes a little time.
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct on that. It's hard sometimes when you hear people complaining, yet then they say, why was I going to vote? It's not going to make a difference or whatever. And that's fine. But do not vote and then want to judge and talk shit about it, because yes. I'm not the one. I'm not. You know,
I agree with. Yes, absolutely.
I don't care who you vote for, because that is our right, our freedom of choice, our freedom of speech. It is your right to vote for whomever you want. Yes, do your homework on it. But then don't sit there and judge or criticize others for who they voted for if the wrong party is in office right now, when you did not contribute
yes.
to the cause in any way, shape, or form. So absolutely. And I think that in this day and age, it was imperative for us to exercise our rights, to have our voices heard and our votes counted. And if you chose not to do so, then go sit in the back row, because we really don't want to hear you. Point blank, period.
Right.
Point blank.
Yeah.
Good morning, Lillian. Buenos dias. And George, who sent his good morning from San Juan, Puerto Rico. Thank you, my love. So yes,
Jorge.
Oh, and Natalie Nicole, I hope you got some good sleep. Love you, baby. Yeah, so you're absolutely right. You know, it is our right. And, you know, when you want to say we don't matter in this country, you know, if you don't participate in important matters of this country, there's no person too small to matter. Don't care. You know what? We should never care that they're not going to hear us because of the color of our skin or because of our social standards. We still have the right and the power.
Or because we have a vagina.
To make that change. Yeah, vaginas are powerful. They can take a beating, get up and make you a sandwich. So come on, stop talking about women as though we're weak, because it's like, that's why they talk about us, because we're so powerful, you know? So I think that, like, who was it? What's her name? Betty White said it. With that saying, oh, you got balls, that should be irrelevant, because if you hit a man in his privates, he's gonna crumble and fall to his knees, where we won't. She's something about that.
Although I don't know,
Anyway,
I've gotten kicked there when I used to do karate, and it's not pleasant.
so imagine
Not as
that.
pleasant, probably not as pleasant as a man, but it definitely is. Woo.
So that's why when Michelle said they have stickers of the suffragette women who fought so hard for us women today, that makes me happy, and it makes me feel proud because of everything they lost so that we can have that right today. So women really need to make a difference with showing up. And people of color, how many people came before us fighting and you know, walking and demonstrating so that we can have this right as well. It's so important. So, you know, we're whether you're a white woman or a person of color, we have the same struggle.
And one thing too that I do want to mention is that so I was watching, I really don't watch a lot of news. I decide what I'm going to research and look at, but I don't really watch the news because they usually hype up things that really don't need to be hyped up. But I was watching how they were putting fencing up. Did you see that? They were putting fencing up around the White House. They were putting fencing up around certain buildings because they're anticipating riots with either way that the election goes. And I'm going to say to everybody out there that I think that's ridiculous. Like, I think it's one thing to be upset about the outcome of an election, but why do we need to exercise that type of violence? You know, if you want to do a peaceful protest, that's one thing. But again, this is what it's all about, is our vote counts. And it would really be worse to think that people who didn't vote are going in these riots because you didn't participate. So, but it is what it is, you know, and unfortunately, if you feel the wrong person gets in, it doesn't really justify, the ends don't justify the means by causing terror for people, especially inevitably the innocent parties are the ones that always suffer from something like that. It's like people's businesses, their livelihoods that they've built so hard, and they end up getting trashed because you weren't happy. So, you know, just kind of spread that love today. It's, you know, we just have to go in this, and again, if we feel that the wrong person gets in, then we need to step up our game on the next go round. I'm going to tell you, I'm making the claim right now, and I said this to Gladiator Guru right before we got on. At the next election in 4 years, I want to see 4 women running. I want a Democratic and Republican president nominee and vice president. That has never happened. We always managed to get 1 woman on the vice president ballot, and then maybe a fluttering one for the president, but it never works out. I think it's time. So
absolutely. And you know what? We can make it happen with so many educated women who stand firm in their beliefs. We can make it happen. We had Obama, and no one thought that would happen. So he opened the doors for us women to say, let's take that step in there. Put your red bottoms on, girl, and go rock that platform, because that's what it's all about. And, you know, on TikTok, I saw a video where this man was standing up saying that Trump is going to win, but if he doesn't, for the people to be prepared for a war. And then I heard yesterday that on Fordham Road in the Bronx, people were like trashing cars with Trump signs because they were like, one guy was blaring through the speaker about Trump. So people walking to work and stuff just started throwing stuff. So is the White House wrong? No, absolutely not, because it's gonna get ugly, and I just hope it doesn't happen. It shouldn't, but you know what?
But it's the climate. It's the climate that we have created, and but guess what? We've created it. So you could blame candidates, but we've created it because we bought into it. So that means that we're the ones that have to stop it. We're the ones that have to make the change. Michelle writes, my friend and her wife were trying to find someone to escort them to the polls because they are afraid, and that's ridiculous. I mean, what country is this that you are afraid to go to the polls to vote? have your voice heard. So that's just not right. That's absolutely not right. So thank you for sharing that, Michelle. And then Michelle said, people say grow a pair of balls. I say grow a vagina. Those things can take a pounding. That's what Betty White said.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Michelle. I couldn't like get all the words, but absolutely. So yeah, I just think that which people are going to be people. There's fear, you know. There's ignorance and abundance. And I mean, if your neighbor can come across the street and kick your Biden sign down because you're ruining the neighborhood, that's just your neighbor. And one little street, imagine the masses when this election hits.
Right.
So they're doing right. I think we all should take precautions, and be careful when we're driving down the road and stuff like that. But I don't watch the news, Badass Buddha, because to me, that's the devil's playground. And I have enough stress with my simple stuff than to be listening to bullshit on the news.
Yeah, me too.
And the hype of negativity.
Yes, I agree.
So no.
Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Good morning, Janine. Janine is on, and Star is on. Good morning, Tiffany's on. So good morning, everybody. Good morning, and let's get into our intention. We'll set our intention and our go over our mantra, and then we'll start our conversation today. So the intention for the day, let's set to have patience, inner strength, love, and compassion for myself and for my fellow humans. Timely, right? To have patience, inner strength, love, and compassion for myself and for my fellow humans.
That's perfect for today.
Yes.
Perfect.
And our-
My mantra is more not towards that way. The mantra is, because this goes for all of us entrepreneurs, all of us just paying forward. My talents are worthy of being paid abundantly. Right, Badass Buddha?
Mm-hmm.
My talents are worthy of being paid abundantly. You won't go to any store and ask for a discount. Don't do it to us entrepreneurs. Don't do it. Don't do it to us friends and family. Pay us, because you know we're coming from a place of love where you're buying from strangers who don't even know who you are. So yes, that's it. So most of the people I know are entrepreneurs. They're creatives, whether it be in storytelling, whether it be in trying to align somebody's spirit, to creating beautiful jewelry, to cooking and selling food. Like, not if I can't cook to save my life, because the most important ingredient I don't have on my shelf, which is love for cooking. So, so I could never go out there and have a food truck, but I know many people who can, but the fear stops them. So you know what? Your talents are worthy. You are worthy. That is why you possess those talents. So let's move forward. Let's go into 2021 like superstars.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the goal, is to try to just keep reminding you between now and the end of the year that you are a superstar and that you're going to start 2021 with a bang. We've had a hell of a 2020. And so, but it doesn't have to be a total loss. Like, what have we learned from all of this? And what have we, let's focus on our resilience. And no matter what happens today, let's focus on moving forward, no matter who's sitting in that seat. It's only 4 years. And let's make the changes that we want to see, not just create problems. Let's just make the changes that we want to see. And with that, we're going to start our conversation. But I just realized I printed that thing and I didn't. So you talk. I'm going to go grab my print.
Okay.
I didn't read it.
Okay. One thing I do want to talk about, the importance of the next elected president. If it's not the one who cares about climate change, then mi gente, I think that we as a people need to fight for that. You know, we need to leave our children and grandchildren a place to live. Climate change is so real, and it's being ignored by the people who should really be taking. But if it doesn't get to a place of awareness to the masses, then it is our jobs as humans of this earth to walk that line and get get in touch with the people who can, because this is the only world we have to live in, where our children will grow into, where their children will grow. So I think it's imperative that climate change get taken seriously.
Yes, I totally agree. I missed part of that conversation, but I am on with that.
Well, because I read a lot, and one of the things said that from Florida all the way up the East Coast, we're supposed to have like a natural disaster of flooding all up the coast, all up New York, supposed to be swallowed. Florida it's a big sandbox. And then the big wave that's supposed to hit California. And so you're going to be safe somewhere in the middle. And where the hell is that? So, yeah, I mean, climate change is real, and we can prevent many catastrophes if we start implementing. So with that said, good morning, mi gente. Let's go on to our topic.
So our topic is a two-part topic. So we're going to have this conversation continued, and we'll have more time on Thursday to dedicate to it, because we won't be talking about voting unless we're going to talk about who got in, but maybe we should just not even bother with that conversation. Good morning, Carmen. So she says, morning, ladies, happy vote day. I waited 40 minutes to vote at 6:15. That's not too bad. 40 minutes isn't too bad. So as long as it's not going over like an hour and a half, I think that's, it's like being at the DMV, nobody wants to wait that long. Okay, where do we want to start? So our conversation today and Thursday, caregiver part 1 and part 2. So we're going to talk about caregivers. So things like, what is it like to be a caregiver? What do we give up as caregivers? What are the challenges, including taking responsibility for a family member who have issues with? And when we're saying caregivers, we're mostly talking about family caregivers. In honor of November is Family Caregivers Month. It's National Family Caregivers Month. So we're having this conversation. Why do we do it? What are the rewards? What emotions do we discover about ourselves? What about self-care for the caregiver? And we opted to do this conversation because, number one, it needs to be talked about, and it's a great conversation, but we've also both been caregivers. And so we're going to share our experiences. We encourage everybody to share their experiences. There are two types of caregivers. There's just a general caregiver. Maybe that's their job, the person's job, or they just take care of somebody that they don't know, or a family caregiver. And again, that's what the big focus mostly is, about taking care of family members, which often can be an unpaid job. It's just par for the course. So where do you want to get started, Gladiator Guru? You gave us some great stuff to read. How much of this do you want read? What do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
Well, read the questions that you have for there. Just put the questions out there, and we're encouraging, if you know any caregivers, share this. Well, we should share Viva anyway, because we're so amazing. But, and chime in and let us know. Caregiving, even if it's for a month, it was a month of your life. That experience is real. You gain knowledge that you can assist someone else with. So chime in and tell us what you think. These questions that are being read out, they are amazing, and they touch a certain part of your core that will invoke if you've caregived for a while or just recently. And it makes you question a lot of things. So if you're ever going to head into caregiving again, or if you are currently, keep these as like a checklist for yourself, because they're great questions. Go ahead, Badass.
What is it like to be a caregiver? There used to be a commercial years ago about the, the Peace Corps, and they would say the toughest job you'll ever love. And caregiving is like that, because there's a lot of benefits that you could get. It's also a very thankless job sometimes, because people don't realize how much of it, what it can do to a person, how it can take a toll. The caregiver often gets overlooked because the focus becomes the person that they're taking care of. And the caregiver is a selfless individual, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve to be taken care of, that they don't deserve some time off, that they don't deserve to be appreciated and grateful. So what is it like to be a caregiver? It's tiring. It's fulfilling. What else? What else do you have, guru?
I have been a caregiver for the past 10 years. Two different people, and I can sleep and I can accept because I believe they were assignments from God. My first one was with Eric, my husband, who was diagnosed before our first wedding anniversary with ALS. And the first 6 months of caregiving for him that I had to stop working and was home with him, I felt like my light was dimming. Like, I made the choice to be his full-time caregiver. But it doesn't mean that because you chose it that you will dismiss everything or that there's not going to be uncomfortable emotions arising. And the worst thing we as caregivers can do is ignore. What is that? So being a caregiver, I think first, it's a choice. You chose to take on that role. And no one can take it from you or give anything to you that we do not allow, correct? So what is caregiving? It's learning about yourself like you would have never learned in any other type of lifestyle.
Yes. Your strengths, your weaknesses too.
Because weaknesses are the ones that come forth first, and then you feel like shit. Then you
Yes.
realize, oh, I got this. You know, so yeah.
But it's even throughout, because one of the challenges that caregivers face is that they don't know how to say no or create boundaries. And just because you're caring for a family member, it doesn't mean that you cannot say no and you cannot have boundaries, because you absolutely can. And I think that's one of the toughest balances for a lot of caregivers. Some just flat out refuse because they have this sort of martyrish type of mentality. And you know what? That's only sustainable for so long. You have to practice self-care. You have to take those moments. You don't need to guilt yourself because you need to get away for a half a day from this individual because you need to replenish yourself. If you want to give to this individual, you have to recharge yourself. And so I think that's where a lot of caregivers go wrong, is they think that they have to keep going. And you did it. You were a caregiver for years for your husband. You're currently a caregiver for your mom, which is going on now, 2 years now, right? It's 2 years, a year.
No, it's been, let's just say January of 2018. Yeah, it's going on 3 years now.
Yeah, so it's going on 3 years.
But let me tell you, back to what you said. I consider myself a learned woman. I considered myself a woman of many facets and very worldly, right? When I became a caregiver, I fell right into that guilt that I should, mainly because Eric was paralyzed due to ALS. But I felt guilty for like the first year of full-time caregiving. Like by 6 months, I had to tell him, I feel like I'm dying. Like I felt like I was dying because I'm a gypsy and I love my freedom. And I love spontaneity and just saying impulsively in the middle of sweeping my floor, oh my God, I have to go do this, and pick it up and then run out the house and go do what I had to do because I've always had that freedom, right? But now I couldn't. So my sanctuary, my home, which was my sanctuary, which I love to come home after a day's work or spend the weekend in, now became my prison. In my spirit, that's how it felt for like the first year. And then I started learning the woman that I was in that moment because I've never been in that position. So I didn't know my strengths or my weaknesses, right? So of course my weaknesses showed up all in the beginning, like the weight gain, the stress weight gain was enormous. Because there was no movement, only from the kitchen to the living room to the bedroom, lifting him and all that. That was the only movement I had. But then I started, every year I would go back home to Connecticut for my father's birthday party with my siblings, and his sons or his brother would stay. And I was okay. The first time I left, I was worried that they wasn't going to find anything. After that, I was like, whoo, I'm out. Once I got out the car at the airport, I was like, Margie time. And it felt good. I didn't feel guilty after that. With my mom now, it's totally different than when Eric was diagnosed. It was 2 weeks prior to our first year wedding anniversary. I could have walked out. I could have annulled the wedding. I could have done many things, but for some reason I stood, and it was the most rewarding decision I've made. But that was 5.5 years of my life. And the what was my biggest obstacle during that wasn't all the plans that we had to travel and all that, because we were in our 40s, our children were grown. It was shifting from a wife to a full-time caregiver. Why the most difficult obstacle, you'd say? I'm still present, right? I'm still taking care of him. I'm still the wife. No, a wife is somebody that gets hugs and gets made love to and gets spoken to and gets their hand held as they're walking into a movie theater. A wife is somebody, a confidant. You work, you make plans, you do this. A caregiver is not a wife. Like, the love is still there and the commitment is still there, but the shift change is totally different. And that's another adjustment you have to make as a caregiver.
That's a great point. That's actually
Yeah.
a great point. We have a tendency, especially when it's family members, especially when it's a husband and wife situation or a significant other, that we mesh them together. And that's actually a really good point. It's actually two separate entities. You're playing two roles at the same time. That's actually quite insightful. I never really thought about it that way, but it's so true.
Because then you're angry and you're blaming the person you're taking care of. And as a wife, you cannot do that. You have to make the choice. Am I going to stay, or am I going to leave, or am I going to stay but continue working and get a caregiver to come in during the hours that I'm working? So there's a lot of decisions that the caregiver wife has to make, and they just they fall apart, and then they want to blame everybody, including the person they're caregiving for. So, I had to make that choice. So I became a full-time caregiver to give all the care that he deserved. And with that, I had to back away from my needs, which were all, intimate needs from your husband at all. So you have to accept that fact, even though you get angry, right? So I used to tell people, like hugs. I love hugs. I love hugs. And I barely got hugs. So I used to tell people I was loyal, faithful, and celibate for 5.5 years. And in that time, the doorknobs were looking pretty fucking good to me. So, you got to make light of your situation, and you got to love it. You got to love yourself, even when you're falling apart. And in caregiving, people fall apart. People fall apart, and you can't blame them, because it's not for the faint of heart. And then you have to dig deep in your core and pull out those strengths that you never knew you had, because you never had to use them before. Go ahead.
Well, and people fall apart, and we tend to be the people on the outside. If you're other family members looking at this other person, we make assumptions and coming sometimes from a tough point. Oh, well, what's the matter? They're complaining. They don't want this. They blah, blah, blah. And instead of taking a step back and saying, okay, well, they're in this 24/7, because that's the thing. It's like, you're in it 24/7. You don't get a break, you don't. And that's where people need to step up on the outside and say, hey, what can I do? And legitimately mean it, not just say, oh, if you need anything. Let me tell you something about caregivers. When you let out a general, oh, if you need anything, just let me know, they're not going to respond to that. They're not going to call you up and go, this is what I need, because most of them are very fearful that you're going to say no. And most people don't fucking mean it when they say, what do you need? It's just making them feel better. So if you really legitimately want to help, you say, tell me what you want me to do. What can I do for you? Can I take a shift? You throw it out there. You put the suggestions in there. Do you need to go to the grocery store? I will sit with this individual. Tell me what you need and I will do it. Or I'm just going to show up and make you go. I'm going to come and clean your house. I'm going to have you sit down and take a nap while I do this. And you just do it. It isn't for everybody, caregiving. It really isn't. And I've heard that numerous times because I've been a caregiver myself. I've never done it as long as you have in this. I did it for 3 months for my first husband, and I did it for 10 weeks with my aunt. And it is, I can't imagine doing it for years. But, I was, that short a period of time, it was doable. With my aunt, my mom was also assisting, although I took majority of it. My first husband, it was just me. We had no family, no friends. that were local, and we, you know, families sort of popped in every so often to like take over or call or see what we needed, but it wasn't really much of a help, considering to what was going on with him. But that's what people need. People need to just, okay, you can't, not everybody can wipe somebody's rear end, you know, and both Guru and I are those type of people. We can do it. It's not a problem. We're not asking somebody else to do it, but what can you do? Like if you say, oh, I can't do that. I can't do what you're doing. Okay, but you could go to the store and pick up stuff. So don't make assumptions that the caregivers got it. Don't make assumptions that, well, they asked for this. That's another big one. I hear this a lot with people who opt to do the caregiving, and then the people on the outside who want no responsibility for it, they'll say, well, that was your choice. You opted to, you said yes. Wow, okay. But it doesn't mean you can't help. And a caregiver also needs to understand that other people aren't able to do what you do. So don't also judge them either. I think it's really about being truthful. I think it's about knowing what you can and can't do, and then asking for help when you need it, and then knowing who to ask for. You know, some people you'll ask for help and they won't step up. No judgment, move on.
Hell yeah, judgment. Hell yeah. I've been on both sides of this. You know what? How dare you? Yeah. And Lori, the Badass Buddha is absolutely correct, because we're not going to call you on, oh, if you need anything, call me. We're not, because me, and if anybody knows me, they know who I am and how I am. You're not going to tell me, oh, call me if you need anything. No, I don't even want that person to come back, because you know I'm here all day. Okay, you know I can't just run out and leave in between, because, you know, Eric, his lungs were bad. You know, anything, aspiration, anything could have happened. So call me, say, hey, I'm at the grocery store. And I've had people do that. And I'm going to shout out to Byron, because Byron would do that all the time. He would either come and drop something off or call me from the grocery store. And what do you need? I'm at the store. What do you need, shorty? I know you need milk, sugar, coffee. What do you? And that's what you do. And you don't have to spend a lot of money. Even if you just call the caregiver and say, hey, when's a good time for me to come over for coffee? I'll pick up some coffee. Because maybe the caregiver just wants conversation that has nothing to do with wiping ass or tube feeding or, you know, changing diapers or anything. So if you can't participate in anything else and you don't have the means to help out with groceries, give of your time, because that's the most priceless of all. So give me a call and say, hey, Margie, when is a good time that your mother's napping? That, you know, I'll pick up some Starbucks, whatever. Don't offer me Dunkin' Donuts. And I can come over and we can sit and chat. I would love that. And because sometimes we just need a break from just what we do all day. It's just a routine, and I hate routines. So absolutely. You know what? Don't leave it like, oh, call me if you need me. Like when people say, how are you? I said, do you want the truth, or you just want me to massage you? You know?
Yeah. Make you feel better.
Yeah, because that's
what it is. That's people sometimes ask, how are you? They don't want to hear the thing, because they don't want to hear any complaints, and they don't want to hear how hard it is, because for themselves, they don't want to know. And that's,
they don't. It's bullshit. It's actually bullshit. You know, when people say, oh, I'm here, whatever you need, I'll test them. Well, what do you mean? What do you have to give? And I'll let you know if I need it or not. Because, you know, going through what I went through with Eric and wiping his tears, because nobody that lives like 5 steps away or further from his siblings came to visit him. They don't realize the effects that the caregiver has to do wiping somebody's tears, because all he wants is company before he dies. You know, to my mother, who's forgetting us, who she's like oblivious to who we are, and who wants to piss every time I get up from the toilet on the floor. Maron, it's like, it drives you bananas, you know? So what do? Don't offer me something you're not willing to give, because you know what? I had enough disappointment in my life. So don't step into my life now, you know, selling bullshit at my door, because I'm gonna call you out on it. Be a good friend to whoever's caregiving. Be a good friend. Say, hey, I know you're on a diet, but I want ice cream. You want ice cream? Hell, I might be at a point that, yeah, I want ice cream. I don't even eat ice cream like that. But the thing is, Badass Buddha was right. Don't say, well, if you need anything, call me. Be specific, damn it. The same way you are when you go choose your takeout food on the menu. You're specific as to what you want. Grant me that same respect when you're offering me something as a caregiver.
Right. And it also, what it does is it allows the caregiver to just be okay with their emotions. So so let's talk to you as a caregiver. So caregivers are sometimes uncomfortable with feeling angry or feeling sad. And all the emotions are absolutely normal, and you have every right to feel that way. You just want to be careful about taking it out on the individual that you're caring for, because your frustration isn't necessarily, it's not their fault. We're going to talk about a weird gray area though, in a moment. So if you feel frustrated and you're exhausted and you need that space, then if it's safe enough, just let them stay in the other room and just let yourself have that space and watch a TV program or call somebody up and say, please, I need you to come here and just sit with the person because I need a mental break. I won't even leave the house. I want to take a bath or something like that, because all those emotions are really real. There's so much frustration, especially like with Guru's case with her husband. It's you get frustrated with, like, you feel gypped. You feel like, why? We just were married almost a year. We have so much to do as a married couple, and it was taken away from me. So it's not that you're mad at the person that you're caring for. It's you're mad at the situation. You're frustrated. And we feel guilty as a caregiver because we're thinking, how do we have the right to get mad when we're not the one that's ill? Like, the person who's ill has every right to be angry, every right for their life to be cut short. So why should I? And then we guilt ourselves. Oh, I shouldn't feel that way. Don't shit on yourself. It is a natural emotion and it's going to happen. And you have to let it out to somebody. You have to share it with somebody that you feel it has your confidence. Sometimes it's not always that you could share it with the person you're taking care of. Sometimes it can be, sometimes you could have such a great relationship with that person you're caring for that they're okay with hearing your frustration, because they want to know. Like, I know I would be that way. If somebody was caring for me, I would want the caregiver to tell me how they're feeling. I would want them to share with me so that I could be a part of hopefully their release, their ability to figure out something, to help them find, it wouldn't make me feel guilty, because I don't. Guilt is a ridiculous emotion. I've let go of that a long time ago, but I would want, because maybe I can help them in some way, open them up to ideas. But not everybody's like that. So I wouldn't suggest or automatically say that to the people you're caring for. But you understand where I'm coming from with that, right? I mean, you understand where I'm from?
Yes, caregiving, because today's topic, we're talking on personal experiences, correct?
Right.
I would say that, allow yourself to feel whatever it is you're feeling. Don't repress it. Don't save it, and don't put it in a box for you to deal with later, because you're going to get piled up with some other stuff. You need to allow yourself to speak. The only thing I ask of you is, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a deep breath before you speak it out.
Yes.
Take a deep breath.
Great advice.
Because you're gonna sound like a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum. You can even envision yourself on the floor, swimming on the floor, wailing, and just, going crazy. So take a deep breath, because we all have been there. I have always been a very vocal person. I've always expressed myself in the moment. I don't care who's around me. What I'm better at is taking a deep breath and not lunging for somebody's throat. So I would suggest that you just take a deep breath, acknowledge what you're feeling, accept it in that moment.
Forgive yourself too.
Feel it. Just feel it. Feel every part of it, and then let it go. And by letting it go, I would say, Eric, I'm feeling this. It's not you, but I feel like my spirit is dying right now. I feel trapped. But I would always say it's not him because it wasn't him.
Right.
Those are my emotions. He didn't provoke that. They're my emotions. So, and he, being paralyzed from the neck down, would say, it's okay, baby, come here. Put your head on my chest, on his heart. And he did this when he was in the ICU a month before he passed away. He did that throughout our relationship. But of course, it was after a year and a half of me saying, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, and he would always say that he said 30 minutes after he was diagnosed, I am blessed to have ALS, which I wanted to punch him. But he maintained that positive spirit throughout the whole thing. So it was easier for me. Me being a rageful soul, it was harder for me to pull the reins in on my emotions because they came in such a barrage of colors, which I was mostly towards the black and gray. But then I learned to come into the light. So right now, as you said, what do you do when you're feeling a certain kind of way? Watch TV or anything. TV sometimes makes me too emotional. It reminds me of a life I don't have or cannot build because of my situation, right? I go outside and I ground. I go barefoot out into my yard, which is not hardly no grass, but weeds. But I still go out there.
Whatever works.
It does. And I just go out there barefoot and I feel the earth beneath me. I have a beautiful tree. I have beautiful trees in my yard. I have a bench in front of one. I'll sit there facing the tree and I let my feet touch it. And then I just talk. Whatever it is I'm feeling, I voice it out. I purge it. And then I hug the tree and I come back inside. It's always happened with Eric, when he would see me spiraling out of control with rage, regardless of what it was about, it was hardly ever about him, but the people around him. He would say, it's a full moon, go outside. Because I'm a moon child. And he knew me. So it would be like midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I would go outside barefoot, stand in the middle of my street, lift my arms and feel the warmth of the moon. And then I would just dance in the middle of the street. So my neighbors knew me, which next door is my nephew. And on the other side of me is my brother-in-law. So, and sometimes they would watch and not say nothing. Or if I'm walking in, they're like, you feel better? Because they already learned that was my routine because that's what I always did for myself. So in that, I am writing a book. I'm the Caregiver's Guide of Wonder, full of smiles, fucks, and hot flashes. Because I was going through perimenopause while taking care of Eric, who I had to lift 9 times out of bed into the wheelchair, into the commode a day. And the hot flashes were so bad that I wanted to rip out of my skin.
Oh, yeah.
And I would go into a corner and I just wanted to fall down and I would just cry because the heat was so intense. And so that's why it's full of a Caregiver's Guide of Wonder, because it's full of smiles. It's full of the love of the person you're taking care of. You know, it's full of fucks because there's going to be moments when you just clean them and then there's shit all over the place.
Yes.
And you're like, fuck my life. And then, you know,
yes,
then
absolutely.
There's the hot flashes. But there's always something. If you learn enough about yourself as a person, as an individual, then you're going to appreciate yourself as a caregiver, because you're going to know what's the holistic medicines you're going to need.
You know what, and that's also very insightful. That's also very insightful because what I learned about my caregiving occurred, my first one with my husband, I was 30 years old when he got diagnosed with brain cancer. So that was a shocker to be so young and plus I'll get into a little bit more detail. We don't have much time left, but then the second round came with my aunt, and that was like 3 years ago. And I was a different person, like totally, I had transformed my life and I learned a lot about myself and I knew my truth anyway. And so what I took was the quality about myself that I really, truly love, which is my ability to really let stuff go and be funny and find the humor. And that's how I took care of her. When I would be working, you know, bathing her and wiping her, I would like joke around with her. Like I would just say things to make her laugh, and she really appreciated it. And I appreciated it. Like I appreciated that I had that ability to do it. And I was very happy with myself to be able to provide that for her. as well as for myself. So it was a very different mentality going into the two. But this was the other gray area that we wanted to mention today is what about, and we're not going to have enough time to talk about this, so we might have to continue it on to Thursday. What about when you are caregiving somebody that you have issues with, that you decided to take the responsibility on of caring for a family member that you might have had problems with in the past? So I'll just mention it quickly. So my aunt, I love and adored my aunt. She's actually since passed away about a little over a year ago, but she was awesome. I just absolutely loved and respected this woman. And so it was like a no-brainer for me to take care of her. It was like I could have kept going with it. She was just fabulous to be around, and I enjoyed her company. When I was 30, though, and taking care of my first husband, the bad part about it was that, my first husband, that marriage was really not good. And it was years of being cheated on and disrespected, and it was just awful. And it was interesting because right before his diagnosis, I actually had made the decision to separate and divorce him. And then we found out his diagnosis, and I got this idea, okay, well, we're married, and till death do us part, and it's my duty to take care of him. And it was 3 months. He was given 3 months to live, and he literally died 3 months, almost to the day that they said. But it was a very hard 3 months. There was a lot of emotion that came up. I was very dedicated to doing what I did, but there was so much resentment. And some days were really good, and I was really loving and compassionate. And there's other days I was resentful for everything. And it was tough, and it made it harder. And in some elements, I don't know if that was better for him, because I kind of gypped him from receiving maybe better care. I don't know. Like that went through my head sometimes, but we decided to have this conversation because that's a real conversation. Sometimes these are the people that you're working with, like taking on a parent who didn't treat you well, or a sibling or a spouse that didn't treat you well. And then you're the caregiver, so what does that look like?
It looks, it's, first I want to give some shout outs. My son-in-law, Henny. Hello, my love. My sister, Connie. I hope she's still on as we talk. My sis, Maria Garcia. Maria de Pilar. Marina Rivera. Thank you for joining in. Eric was easy. Eric was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia, the worst kind, in early 2009. So for 2.5 years, he was misdiagnosed with fibromyalgia when he already had ALS. So by the time his diagnosis came a month later, he's paralyzed. So that happened. I'm not going to say that I stood because I was so in love with Eric and we were going to build a life together. I stood because something in my spirit just moved me, and like that it was okay that I was supposed to meet Eric. Like God chose him for me so that I can be his caregiver. I'm never going to change that. If you want to know the full story, my book's on Amazon, Doing It My Way, Pushing Back Against ALS, the Eric Chapman story, because it is phenomenal. Now, my mother, we've always had, my siblings, that's why I said I hope my sister's still on. We've always had issues with my mom. My mom, as we grew older, then we realized my mom had a story that we just didn't understand. But my mom wasn't a warm, loving, hugging, I got you type. So we endured many trials and tribulations growing up. My early happy childhood memories are from 6 months, I guess, till I was 5.5 that I was living with my grandmother. Needless to say, you love your mother because it is the only mother you're going to have. It takes years. I was 32 when I thought I forgave her, but then it wasn't until recently that I finally let go of all resentments and past hurts and lacks of love. And to say that my mother was presently absent most of our lives, it is the truth. Do I love her? Yes, I love her. That's why I take care of her. Do I like her? Not all the time. Because although she has the dementia, she also has those lucid moments. The dementia patients, they're lucid. Sometimes they're like, hey, what's for dinner? Well, when she's lucid, she can be quite the same old manipulative person. So what do you do with that? I couldn't handle it on my own. I was seeing that I was yelling. I was arguing with her. She just seemed ungrateful and everything. So I put it into prayer and I surrendered. And I said, God, I can't do this. Teach me how to love her and how to care for her as an elderly woman with dementia so that I can give her the best care that she deserves. Because that's the bottom line that I wanted. No matter how crazy, how once again I'm trapped in my sanctuary because I brought her here to Florida to live with me. So you go through other changes. People are like, oh, when are you going to start dating? Are you fucking kidding me? Who has time to date when I'm changing a diaper every 2 hours? When I'm trying to fit my life into that 2-hour span. And lately, normally I'm a night owl. So I would finish whatever I had to finish till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But, 3 or 4 out of the 7-day week, I'm sleeping at 11:30 at night, which is amazing for my body as I'm aging. But then I'm like, oh my God, I didn't get shit done. So, there's so many back and forth, but you know what? Keep having those conversations with yourself if you're a caregiver. Keep wowing yourself. Like you look at somebody on TV or your friends are accomplishing something. You're like, wow, that's amazing. Look in the mirror. Be fucking amazed at yourself.
Yes.
Be amazed that you're still holding on tight to that roller coaster as it's going all the way down, scaring the shit out of you. And then it's slowly going up, knowing that it's going to go down again. But you get back in it every day as you're caregiving for somebody who really wasn't that nice to you growing up, whether it's your mother, your father, or your sibling. Because who else, But do it with love. And if you do it with kindness in your heart, then guess what? I believe que en guerra avisada no muere nadie. So if you know what you're getting yourself in, guerra avisada no muere nadie means, and if someone tells you of a war that's coming, you're going to be prepared so you won't die. So what I'm saying is, madre una. And for me, that's the only mother I'm ever going to have. There's no substitute. And because of her weakness, I am the strong fucking gladiator guru you see in front of you. And I have no qualms about saying that. So you know what? Stop blaming your parents for what you're doing and just start loving, because if you fill your heart with kindness, then when your parent gets old like mine is and dementia that she don't remember us half the time, you can do it with a certain kind of, it's a package deal, the kindness and the care, and then the love follows, because once you see them sleeping or you see them come or you see that they ate their food, you feel love in your heart for them.
Yeah.
So people ask me, believe me, I get a lot of people like Maria Garcia knows the trials and tribulations with mom. Connie, my older sister, obviously we lived it. But you know what you do is they ask me, why haven't you put her in a home already? And at first I was like, well, I am once the COVID is over or once I get to Florida, because that's what I thought I wanted. And then they put her in rehab for 3 weeks, and it was the worst week. And I thought I was going to get arrested when I told all those directors in that, when I picked her up, how if they met the old Margie, that I'll be ripping throats out at this moment. I didn't care, the abuse and neglect on mom. So I think that was God telling me, oh, you're thinking about putting her in, but yet you're praying for me to help you deal with this. And it was the worst experience. My mother was bruised up. She had blisters in places she'd never had them. Her hair hadn't been washed in 3 weeks. And as a caregiver to my mom, who was presently absent all of my life, I said I could never leave her in the care of anyone else but me. So I will, whatever you want to say, I will press pause on my life for this time. I will sacrifice my freedom for this time. And you know what? When all said and done, then I will meet the person I'm supposed to grow old with. I will live and travel where I'm supposed to be traveling. But right now we're living in the time of COVID. Where the fuck am I gonna go? But outside in my yard and be grounded. And what is this COVID teaching us? To be grateful for every day we're gifted. And every day we can tell somebody, I love you. Because it's better to give than receive, right, Badass Buddha? And that's right. That's what caregiving is. You're living one of God's greatest testaments is give and you shall receive. And when you give with love and care and kindness, and I told you a lot for caregiving for family, love is last on the list. And I don't care who disagrees with me. Love can come last on that list. But if you do it with kindness and genuine care, you're a millionaire in my eyes, and you're priceless in God's. So Badass Buddha, I thank you for taking care of the husband who abused and mistreated you and didn't love you as you deserve to be loved. But what you gave him on his way out was more than he could have ever given anybody. So you gave him a great gift, and he knew it. He left knowing what love really was by what you did. So I thank you. I thank you for that.
And what you're doing for your mom is absolutely beautiful. And what you said was just so beautiful. Absolutely. And, you know, Guru really focused on the piece of you being the caregiver. But then the conversation too, I'm just reminding everybody that on the outside, looking at the caregiver, throw some love out to the caregiver. You know, when you come there to see the person they're caring for, bring something for the caregiver, because it's not just about that person that you're visiting, that they're taking care of. Take care of that caregiver. They're not going to ask you. And if they do ask you, be more clear. Make it more clear. What is it that you need? What can I bring you? I don't know. Well, then I'm bringing this. You take charge, because they need that help. It takes a lot of cooperation. So the love that Guru's talking about, that kindness, you provide it for the caregiver as well. Give them something that they're not willing to ask for themselves, or they're not very clear on. Maybe they don't even know, but be that person as well. So kindness is on both sides, from the caregiver and the people on the outside looking at the caregiver. Because just think, if you assist that way, you assist the caregiver is just going to be much better at doing their job, which to them a lot of times isn't really even a job. It's just, it is what it is. It doesn't even have a label. It doesn't even have a name.
I like to say it's an assignment from God, which keeps me aligned with something bigger than me, so that I get emotional. But because it's hard, and I know a lot of people here who've been that. But in saying that, if you can't listen, like when we become caregivers, we denounce everything, even a paycheck, income. We denounce that because we were given this assignment. So whatever you can help in, and I'm never gonna say, oh, do this. What I do is promote my book. So if you go on Amazon, if you want to help this caregiver, buy Eric's book. Yes. The book I wrote about Eric.
Buy all her books.
Buy my Soul Searching for Peace. And when the Caregiver Guide of Wonder, full of smiles, fucks, and hot flashes comes out, buy that. Show your solidarity that way. Because you know what? You may not be in there now. I never chose to be a caregiver because I'm that free spirit, but God had other plans. And here I am. So you know what? Just love yourself through the process, through the weight gain, through the stress, through the rashes, through the hair loss. Love yourself, because at the end of the day, it's God and you, mi gente, because you're too busy caring for everybody else. So keep God in your focus and say, you know what, Father God, I need help today, and go with the flow. But love yourself and forgive yourself for having those bad days where you wish you didn't have to take care of this person, and just be kind. The kindness you pour out to others, pour it back into yourself. And that's what made me emotional, because we forget to love ourselves in this process.
And you know what, Guru? We love you, because you are an amazing spirit. Very strong, beautiful woman with beautiful words and just beautiful love in your heart. And we're very grateful for you.
Thank you.
So we have to get going. We will see you guys on Thursday with part 2 of our caregiver conversation and our guests. And so I got to cut it short, because I got to go sell cookies at a cookie booth for in this cold weather. So I'm just signing out. So remember, from the Badass Buddha, remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary.
And from me, La Margarita, the Gladiator Guru, breathe in the beauty and breathe out the bullshit. Namaste.
Namaste, everybody. We'll see you Thursday. Bye-bye.